They did not teach you this about money. This is Prof Alpha Podcast breaking financial myths, building alpha mindset, and helping you win with money and life. Let's talk wealth.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're on a mission with some pretty life-changing potential. We're synthesizing a chronological roadmap for young people, starting as early as age 13, on how to build not just wealth, but also the skills you need to actually sustain it. We've gone through a lot of material that lays out a kind of step-by-step checklist to give you the earliest possible head start.
And this whole deep dive really operates on one central, unavoidable truth. We're pulling out these age-specific actions, but the real wisdom, the core pillar of the entire strategy, is the sheer power of time in the market.
Okay, let's unpack that right away. Why is time the biggest factor? How do we make that concept actually stick for a teenager?
Think of it like a snowball, a tiny snowball rolling down a very, very long hill. When you start at 13, that snowball is minuscule. But because it starts so early, it just picks up more and more speed, more and more mass. It's earning interest on its own interest. And by the time you hit retirement, it's not a snowball anymore. It's an avalanche. The secret isn't picking the perfect stock. It's just maximizing the runway for that compounding to do its magic. Time is the multiplier.
That is the concept we have to internalize, and we should set expectations here. This is a multi-year roadmap, so if you're listening and you're already over 18, don't worry. The third segment is absolutely for you. But for now, let's start at that earliest edge, ages 13 and 14. This is all about navigating legal hurdles and just getting your financial roots down.
Right. And the biggest hurdle at 13 is a legal one. A minor can't open an investment account alone. So the first, most essential action is getting a parent or a guardian involved to open what's called a custodial account. That's the key. It unlocks everything else.
And this is a really critical point, especially for our international listeners, because the account types are quite different depending on where you are. For those of you in the UK, the source material was really big on the Junior Stocks and Shares ISA. It's an incredibly powerful tax-advantaged account. A guardian can put in up to £9,000 a year. They control it at first, but then you get to manage it at 16, and you can access all of it tax-free at 18.
And then in the US, you're usually looking at a UGMA or a UTMA. With both, you can contribute unlimited amounts, though your guardian has to watch out for that $18,000 annual gift tax limit. The big difference is flexibility. A UGMA is just for financial stuff, like stocks. But a UTMA is more like an irrevocable trust. It lets you invest in things like real estate or even fine art, if your guardian knows what they're doing.
So you've got the account set up. What does a 13-year-old actually invest in? We definitely don't want them gambling on some high-risk stuff right out of the gate.
Oh, absolutely not. No, the advice across the board is to keep it simple and low cost. You want a broadly diversified fund, specifically something like an S&P 500 index fund. It's really the simplest way to invest in the growth of the 500 biggest companies in the US.
And when you look at the historical data, that long-term consistency is it's shocking. The S&P 500 has averaged a yearly return of, 12.58% over the last 10 years as of mid-2024. But, we have to be responsible here. A 13-year-old has decades of volatility ahead. We should probably remind you that past performance isn't a guarantee of future returns.
That's a crucial caveat. You're investing for decades, not for next week.
Right.
Patience is everything.
Okay, so moving to age 14, the mission here kind of shifts away from the mechanics of investing. It's more about leveraging a critical non-financial asset. The fact that you probably have no rent, no mortgage, no bills. This is your time for just massive trial and error.
That freedom is priceless. It really is. You don't have the pressure to earn a high income. So you use this time to just explore, try all sorts of different things. Clean driveways, get really into a sport, volunteer somewhere.
Yeah, the sources had this fantastic anecdote that really highlighted discipline over cash. It was about a son getting up at 4 a.m. for swimming practice. He wasn't earning any money, but he was earning discipline.
Right. And that ability, that skill of just executing on a hard schedule and outworking everyone else.
Yeah.
That translated directly into success when he started a business years later.
And that's the takeaway for 14, isn't it? You can't just stumble on your talent. You have to expose yourself to a huge range of things.
Exactly. And when you find that sweet spot, something you're naturally good at, but also something you enjoy getting better at, that's your signal. Double down on it.
Okay, let's move into the next phase then. Segment 2, stashing cash and stacking skills, ages 15 through 17. So at age 15, the goal is to maximize your cash inflow. It sounds simple, but the advice is to ask for cash for birthdays, holidays, instead of stuff. Like a new gaming console that loses its value immediately.
And this is the point where you absolutely have to get a job, any job. Even working retail brings in some income, and more importantly, it teaches you crucial social skills.
Yeah.
Things like, managing conflict, time management, dealing with customers.
But the source has made this really fascinating psychological point here. You have to avoid the temptation to spend it. They say don't save your money, stash it. Why that specific word?
Because for a teenager, saving usually just means delaying a purchase. You save for a few months just to blow it all on a trip or a new gadget. Stashing reframes the cash completely. It's not something to spend later. It's a launch pad. It's a tool you're going to use to make more money.
Ah, so it's a mental trick to separate it from those consumer temptations.
Exactly that. The journey is so much harder if you're always starting over at zero. Even if you've only got $100 stashed away, it lowers that psychological barrier to getting started on something bigger. And a quick practical note for our UK listeners. At 15 years and 9 months, apply for your provisional driving license. It's a small step that sets you up big time.
Right. So age 16, this is where you really start building the framework for a future career. You've got this critical 2-year window before you turn 18, and it's time to start skill stacking. Take those interests you found at 14, selling, design, coding, whatever, and start investing in them.
And you have to trust that these skills that seem totally separate will eventually link together. A mechanic learns troubleshooting, a video editor learns marketing. These are all business fundamentals.
I do want to challenge one piece of the advice here. The sources said to prioritize spending money on equipment over expensive courses. Isn't there a risk you buy the wrong stuff? Why is avoiding fake gurus a bigger threat?
It's a fair point, but it's about return on investment and commitment. A physical tool, like a camera or a specific software license, is a tangible asset. It forces you to commit. You sink $500 into a used iMac, and that financial sting motivates you to actually learn video editing to justify it. A generic online course, well, completion rates are often low, and the knowledge is just theoretical, easy to forget.
That makes sense. The investment in the tool forces you to get competent. The goal is to develop skills that are valuable on day one for a future employer.
And by age 17, all that skill stacking leads to one essential practical step: passing your driving test.
Mobility is money. Even if you don't need a car every day, passing that test is a huge priority. Why is a license so important financially?
Because not being able to drive is maybe the single biggest barrier to a successful side hustle. If a client is 30 minutes away and you're relying on public transport, you just can't guarantee you'll be on time. You get a bad reputation, you'll lose opportunities. The rule from the sources was pretty strict. To be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late, and to be late is unacceptable. Driving is how you uphold that standard.
So use the cash you've been stashing to buy a cheap, reliable starter car. Now let's jump into the main event, the Age 18 checklist. This is the 7-step guide for anyone turning 18, or really anyone older who needs to get their financials set up right.
The second you turn 18, you can legally control your own money. So the first step is to open your own bank accounts. And you need 2 of them, ideally at different banks. We're using that separation tactic right away.
Right. So item 1, your current or checking account. That's where daily cash flow, wages come in, bills go out. Item 2, a high-interest savings account. And this one has a very specific job, building an emergency fund.
The emergency fund is your foundation. It's non-negotiable. You need 3 to 6 months of living expenses in there. And it is not for spending. It's your safety net. It's what keeps you from going into debt when life, inevitably happens. Keep it separate, out of sight, out of mind. That's key.
Yeah, for specific banks, the sources suggested looking for ones with minimal fees, like Monzo for current and Chase for savings in the UK, or maybe Ally Bank in the US. The main thing is just to keep them separate.
Checklist item number 2, get a credit card. And this is where we have to debunk a huge myth. The idea that avoiding all debt gives you a good credit score is just wrong. It's the opposite. You have to show you can use it responsibly.
Your credit score is basically, it's like an Uber rating for money, right? It determines if you can get loans and, more importantly, the interest rates you'll pay on big things like a mortgage. A few points of difference can cost you tens of thousands of dollars over the life of a loan.
And the strategy is so simple. Use the credit card for things you were going to buy anyway, like gas or groceries. And then, this is the critical part, pay the entire balance off every single month, without fail. You build your credit history fast, and you never pay a penny in interest.
It's funny how many people were taught to never borrow. We forget that for wealthy people, borrowing is leverage. It's a tool to create more wealth. But for most people, it was framed as this evil thing.
Okay, item 3, Open an investing account and focus on the tax-advantaged ones. These accounts are extremely powerful because the government is essentially giving up its claim on your future growth. We're talking about the Roth IRA in the US, the Stocks and Shares ISA in the UK, or the TFSA in Canada.
And what's so great about modern investing is how accessible it is. You have apps that allow for fractional shares. You don't need $200 for one share of some big tech company. You can invest just $1 to get started. Some platforms even let you practice with fake money using real market data, which is a great way to build confidence.
Item 4. Carefully consider university. This is what the sources call the yes and no scam. University is absolutely mandatory for some professions, doctors, nurses, teachers. These are not a scam. They're direct, valuable career paths.
But it's often a huge waste for skill traits, for tech, for entrepreneurship, places where a portfolio and a track record matter way more than a degree. The sources strongly recommended apprenticeships as an alternative. You get paid while you learn a trade, instead of taking on 60 or 100,000 pounds in debt for a degree in something like golf management that might not even lead to a job.
Item 5. Avoid bad debt. You have to learn the difference between two types of debt. Bad debt is an anchor, it just drags you down. Good debt is a lever that can create opportunity.
So good debt would be something strategic, like a mortgage on a house that appreciates, or a business loan to buy equipment that generates profit. And bad debt is consumer debt. Financing a new car you can't afford, carrying a balance on your credit card.
Exactly. That consumer debt is a trap. It's a money sink. That statistic that 2.2 million UK drivers finance their cars. That's staggering. That's 2.2 million people whose ability to build wealth is being permanently slowed down by this massive financial anchor.
Okay, item 6, start a side hustle. Now that you're 18, you need to avoid that mindset of just get a job and be miserable. If you've been spill stacking since you were 16, focus on those service-based hustles. Copywriting, video editing, web development, they need very little startup cash.
And here's the mindset shift. Any job you have to take, you need to view it as an investment in your future. You use the income from that job to fund your side hustle in your off hours. Every shift you hate is just a tactical move toward financial freedom.
And finally, item 7, invest for the long term. This brings us right back to where we started. The magic of compound interest.
We really have to look at the math to get this, especially with those tax-advantaged accounts. If you invest just $250 a month starting at age 18 into a Roth IRA, and you get, say, a conservative 8% return, by age 65, you'd have approximately $1.5 million, tax-free.
Now compare that to someone who waits. Same investment, $250 a month, 8% return. But they start at age 28. They would only end up with about $679,000. That's less than half, solely because they waited 10 years.
And crucially, those tax-advantaged accounts work best when you're young because you're in a lower tax bracket. You pay the tax on the money when your income is low, so you basically lock in the lowest possible tax rate for that entire $1.5 million nest egg.
So, to summarize the key ingredients, start as early as possible for time, separate your cash into a stash, prioritize skills over debt, and leverage those powerful tax-advantaged accounts. And if you're over 18, this checklist is still absolutely vital for catching up. Get it implemented today.
We've just established that 10 years of compounding is the difference between $1.5 million and about $680,000. That is a $1 million head start. So considering that huge gap, what is the one small consistent action you can start this week, not next year, to start closing that gap and give your future self that $1 million advantage?